Alright, how you going, team? We're back. Let's get our sleuth on. It's a charming little game. I must admit, it's suitably eerie. There's always arrows, though. Yep. Oh, this is the water tower. Okay. An old ladder leading up to an ancient water tower. The ladder needed to be extended so I could climb it. Did I extend the ladder? Yeah. I popped the latch and brought the ladder down. Oh, it's my bat buddies. Oh. Claw marks? In a patch of smeared dirt and grass, there was a beat-up old wallet. I thought it was mine. Did I take it? Sure, it's yours, mate. The wallet was missing its contents, including any cards or ID. It was worn but light. It made carrying the gun around seem more awkward. Where were my driver's license and credit card? From the railing I could see over the woods and down to the entrance to the sewers. Had I come through there before? If I did, someone definitely could have seen me. Did I put this up here? Or was somebody else carrying it? I'm sorry, this... You don't want to inspect this. So now I'm not sure where to go. I mean, there's tons of different places. The lid had fallen on the entrance there and was stuck shut. Okay, so I can't return. Yeah, well, they did prompt me. So, what's the go? Oh, you know what? This way. Haven't been this way. This must have been the entrance to the forest that was mentioned on that map I had seen. Whoever was poking around in those tunnels underneath that man's house had scribbled notes on this place, but I couldn't make them out. Here the sign pointed out various campsites and walking paths within the woods. It mentioned a river and maybe a washroom, but the rest was too faded to see clearly. Oh, that's a path. Well, we're here now. Hey, trampled into the dirt and grass was a kind of plastic card of some kind. I brushed it off and was surprised to see it was my credit card. I wasn't sure if it was still usable, but it was mine. Did I take back my credit card? Yes. I pocketed the credit card. Hopefully I could find my driver's license too. Oh! Through the fence I could see a dilapidated outbuilding. I wonder if I could find my way around. Oh, that's the fence, okay. Ugh, okay. Oh, stop it. There was some personal effects shoved back into the rock. Wait, there was a notebook there too. Yeah, you read it. Inside the cheap dollar store notebook was page after worn page of names and lists. None of it made much sense. The newest page contained several names. Heather, Olivia. Oh, this was the list from before that we couldn't make out. Ashley, Cheryl, Irish, Daphne, Holly, Rose, Rachel, all lady names. Rachel? Her name was last on the list and had a mark beside it in blue ink. The names Daphne and Olivia had been crossed out in the same blue ink. Cheryl, Heather, and Rose had also been crossed out, but these marks looked older and more faded. Serial killer. And they're after Rachel. I have to save Rachel, guys. Rachel! 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 Rachel's! Oh. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Don't elbow. Don't baboo. Don't baby. No, no. Ah, well, let's go save Rachel. Oh, this is the washroom. The grimy sink had a small patch in it that looked almost clean. I've read that stupid. There wasn't much in the way of clean water there, but the sink did work. A musty wooden plank propped up the stall door. It didn't really seem useful. Did I bother to take it? Yes. I wasn't sure why, but I took the plank. Oh. Well, you must have had your reasons. What the hell? Oh, that's light. Oh. The sign was the same as the first one I had seen. This must have been the exit to the other side of the woods. Perfect. Let's go. I finally found the exit. Once I left, I knew I never wanted to return there. Oh, my license. You know what? I will probably do another playthrough of this. I just feel a lot of backtracking is not what we want. At least in this run through. I feel like I want to, you know, put up with the consequences, right? The close, damp air of that forest clung to me like a cloak as I pressed on through the gate. I was somewhat relieved to see a bit more light on the path ahead. It was as if the trees were finally letting me through, giving me a way out. That notebook I had discovered didn't seem helpful, but since I read it, I couldn't put it out of my mind. What did it all mean? Serial killer, Rachel's gonna get killed, unless we do something about it. Orange-haired man. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. As I stepped through the gate, I suddenly recognized the auto parts factory where I had worked as a machinist for all those years. The plant had closed almost 3 years ago now. Times were better then. I thought I could hear a faint rustling behind me. Maybe it was just the wind? Nope, that's Murder Pants. Oh, oh, oh! There's the city. What's this building? Oh, criminy. One of the lockers hung open. Its contents were tossed around like someone had been looking for something. But what were the contents? There was a large power box with 5 lights on it. Cables burst out of the box, snaking off to other parts of the factory. The metal was starting to wear and cobwebs had collected on the corners. The box wasn't receiving power. The door was locked tight. It seemed to be connected to the power box beside it. Alright. Every part of this plant smelled old and rotted. I noticed the old bulletin board on the wall. And I ignored it. Our old break table. The layer of dust and grime only made seeing this sting more. The board contained yellowed clippings of newspaper cartoons and notices. There were notes to and from the guys that worked here. One of them was to Norman, who was one of the older guys on the line. What did it say to Norman? power panel. Looked like it was shut off. Did I push the switch? Yes. Power panel still wasn't working. Did I try it again? The open locker was stuffed with dirty work clothes and old boots. There was a photo of a woman taped to the inside, but it was scratched out, and the face was unrecognizable. Ah, yeah. So that one's on. It was shut tight. There was a rusty-looking card slot on the side. Alright, okay. This is fun. Normally, you know, it's one of the things that I really struggle with in games is if I don't do something perfect, then I'll go back and, you know, try and do it perfect from the get-go. One of the reasons why I created the channel was to sort of combat that, because a lot of the times I won't finish games because I'd get to a certain point, then I think, you know, I'll go back, I'll do it better this time. And so I love restarting games, and I very rarely see the end. And it's because I put as much time into the games as someone who plays through to the end, probably more so. But I generally never see the second half of the content in games. So, you know, making these videos and seeing it to the end kind of makes me have to, right? So these bottom ones, but it's, you know, it's refreshing. The door's still locked. Huh. There's a large power box with 5 lights. Cables burst out. The metal... Wait. Oh! It didn't look like the power was on yet. Okay. Oh wait, there's a nut. We can go up again, can't we? The door had been hastily boarded up. This was Norman's locker. The door was dented like someone had punched it. I don't remember him doing that when we worked there. My head ached, and I recalled the last time Norman, Rachel, and I all had lunch together. Rachel seemed so much more at ease when we all hung out. Yeah. It's on. So there's 2 more, right? The locker was a complete mess. Hidden at the bottom, though, was a magnetic card. Did I take the card? Yes. I slipped a key card into my pocket. Another panel that I hope would help me get the power back on. Hey. Okay. Alright, guys. If that... Alright, eerie sound. If that little song that I'm doing is from something, like if I didn't just make that up and it's on, like, if it's from something, please tell me what it is, because now it's stuck in my head. Well, which one do I go in? The door was open now that the power was back on. No, it's not. The power's not on. It's scary in here. Okay. A large pile of building materials and debris blocked the way. It's just the machinist workshop settling in, guys. Pay no attention to the sounds. Another smudge of dirt, similar to the one I found in those sewers, was on the floor. Smeared with grass? I still don't understand what smeared with grass means. A rusted old regulator of some kind sat dusty and unused against the wall. Oh. Oh. Planks, tools, and broken up parts blocked any further passage. A rack of flashlights hung on the wall. One of them was missing. I feel like I've got the flashlight, right? This is a setup. My flashlight flickered for a moment as I stepped onto the pockmarked ground. The air still smelled of trees and rain, and I was starting to get cold. Did my flashlight really come from that factory? How would I have received it? My head ached as I wrestled with my thoughts, and my body felt ready to give up completely. My only option was the path in front of me. I hoped desperately that it led back to town. Maybe, if I ended up close to Norman's store, he could help. A rusty old truck had careened off the road and into the guardrail. Its front was crushed and its windows had all smashed. Judging by the rust, it had been here for a while. Here in the B2. Oh, I didn't see the door there. The garbage bin was a disgusting mess of rotten food and slick black bags. I saw a thin greenish corner poking out from one of the bags. It was my driver's license. It looked damaged. Did I take it back? Yeah! Huh. I cleaned the card off as best I could. It looked pretty beat up. I was amazed to have found my credit card, and now this. I tucked the card into my wallet next to my credit card. It sounded like it was going to start raining again. Guys, this is a setup, right? We're getting set up. We're going to go to prison. We're telling this story from prison, is my guess. I had entered Norman's place. This was the back of the store that he ran. How'd you get into it? How'd you get into his store? Do we know this guy's name? We don't. How'd you get into the store, Nate? It was oddly quiet, except for the faint sound of a television. Why would I want to explore Norman's place, though? We're gonna do it, but... because Norman's the serial killer. Well, whatever. What the hell? One of Rachel's old autumn coats hung on the rack. That was Norman's bedroom, wasn't it? What was this doing there? Oh, Rachel. Inside the cabinet was a small but impressive collection of hunting rifles, shotguns, and even a few items I didn't think were legal here. One of the slots on the rack was empty. The gun I had found seemed to match the others there. If the handgun was Norman's, what the hell was he doing with it? The gun would fit there. Did I place it back in the cabinet? Oh my goodness, guys. Team. Something's up with Norman. Do I put the gun back? Is this a setup? I didn't take the knife. I'm gonna put the gun back? Where did we find the gun? Did we find it on the ground? It was... Why would I put it back, though? That's the thing. And because of that, now I want to do... I'm going to... Nah, I'll keep it. I'm keeping the gun. Though it weighed on me, I had a hard time parting with the weapon just then. Yeah, we need it. This Norman guy's sus. And there's blood on the ground. Oh! I wondered where it would lead. No. Somehow I was too afraid to see what was up there for myself. Maybe it was for the best. Oh! Norman's dead. Oh no, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Norman, my co-worker, and one of the few friends I had in this town, lay dead beside his armchair. His face and shirt were covered in blood. It looked like he'd been shot trying to get up. His eyes were wide with shock, though they were already drying. Norman, what was Rachel doing here? Why did you have her coat? Norman, maybe you deserved better. You probably did. Did I close his eyes? Guys. I closed his eyelids down, shuddering as I did so. I wasn't sure if I wanted to give him peace, or if I just couldn't stand to think anymore about what was going on. I hope to hell Rachel had nothing to do with that mess. The TV still flickered. Some indecipherable channel. What was this? It looked like a pull chain hanging from the ceiling. Yeah, let's go. I gave the chain a single tug and a simple folding ladder to the attic popped down. We killed Norman. Rachel? No, but why is there a list? Wait. Rachel. There was a large cardboard box that hadn't been sealed. Did I open it? I opened up the old cardboard box and wasn't entirely surprised by what I saw. There were more of Rachel's things, more of my wife's clothes. Photos, shoes, even that old radio I gave her. Why, Rachel? What were you doing here with Norman? So Rachel left us. Oh. And this is our revenge? Then that notebook is... Like, we found... All the stuff we found is ours, right? I'm gonna go put the gun back. Everything we found was ours. So, those notebooks... Oh no, we kept it. The notebook we found with the list of names. That's our list, right? And this is a pattern we repeat? I guess this was Norman's kitchen table. He kept it clean enough, but there were water rings from 2 cups still there in the wood. What's his kitchen doing on the 2nd floor? That seems like a strange place for a kitchen. Oh, because the 1st floor's his store, right? Kitchen trash bin smelled fresh. I didn't dig through that mess, did I? Yeah. I found a hairpin amongst the rotting food and trash and pocketed it. So we've been staking out this place for quite a while. To get Rachel. I'm starting to feel dirty. You know, the threat, the fear of threat is lessening the more I'm starting to suspect our part in this whole sordid mess. I used the hairpin to pick the lock. The hairpin snapped in half, so I threw it away. The general store was small, but it was clean. It had the usual things: postcards, snacks, magazines, and canned goods. I never went there much. Rachel usually stopped by after work if we needed anything. The register was mostly empty, and a fat stack of travel magazines sat beside it. The icebox seemed to be unplugged. It must have been off for a while. Most of its contents were half melted. There were various postcards from the area, especially from the tourist traps. One of the postcards showed an old black and white photo of the water tower. It looked to be in much better shape then. That night continued to take horrible turn after horrible turn. It had been weeks since I'd last seen Norman, but to find him like that... As I thought of him still lying on the floor back there, the gun I carried seemed ever present. Seeing that dusty box of those old clothes was a shock. How long had they been there? And what was Rachel doing at Norman's place? I felt like I had only discovered more questions, no answers. But I was so close to home. It was time to find out the truth. Is this where I live? The neighborhood's local postbox. A letter was sticking out as if someone hadn't pushed it all the way in. I knew it wasn't right, but yeah, why not, mate? Everything you've done so far. The envelope was addressed to Norman. There was no return address, but the handwriting looked familiar. I took a deep breath and tore open the package. Norman, I'm sending this to you in a letter because I'm afraid to tell you this in person. What we did, well, it was wrong. My husband isn't an easy man to be with, but he is my husband and your friend. I need some time to sort this out, away from you both. I'm going away for a while. I'm going to tell him, Norman, so don't think you can hold that against me. Maybe we'll work it out. I'm not sure I even want to, but he deserves at least that much. Goodbye. The gate was locked tight. This wasn't my house. I had the wrong gate. This one was locked. Oh, this is my house. I had entered our backyard. The rain gave me a terrible sense of foreboding, and it chilled me through my clothes. I was expectant, but also afraid. Blood. I held my breath as I approached my back door. I was terrified to step inside. The house was painfully quiet. The only sound was my own breathing, ragged and strained. I flicked the light switch by the door. The power was off. I remembered having breakfast here on this very table. Was that yesterday or some time before? There was a small pile of mail on the floor in front of the mail slot. How long had I been away? Why hadn't Rachel picked this up? Most of the contents were bills. There was a credit card bill there. Did I open it? I ripped the bill open and read it. To my surprise, it said something about cancelling my credit card due to non-payment. What the hell? The door to the basement was locked. Where had I put that damned key? The front door was locked from inside. I couldn't go out, though. I needed to see if Rachel was here. Why is this chair like that? Do you know how it just doesn't seem appropriate? I actually feel like... Not sure how I feel, hey? The door was stuck shut. There was an old-fashioned keyhole underneath the handle. I had found the last missing piece from my wallet. The old photo of Rachel and I stared back at me, reminding me of better times. It didn't make me feel terribly comfortable. Did I keep it anyway? No. There was no reason to hold on to old memories. I had my license and credit card back, that was enough. I think I've accepted. Our television. I purchased it before I knew I was going to lose my job. I felt pretty guilty about it afterward, but by then it was too late. Our hallway mirror had been smashed, its pieces scattered around the floor. There's blood. Our sink, which needed to be replaced. One of the taps always stuck, but I hadn't got around to fixing it yet. We were lucky enough to get a house with one of those wonderful old claw-footed bathtubs. It seemed impractical at times, but it was part of what made that house home. My laptop had been left on, and only a tiny bit of power left. On the screen was a website about the old water tower. There was a key in the top drawer of my desk. I pocketed the key. The books there were half mine, half Rachel's. Hey, now that I looked more closely, it looked like the man in that house had some of the same books as I did. My wife's, Rachel's suitcase was sitting on the bed. It was closed, but I had a feeling what was in it. Did I open it? Rachel's suitcase contained clothes, toiletries, and a train ticket. Is this what you were going to do with Norman? She wasn't going to do anything with Norman. Rachel, why? Were you really going to run away with Norman? Was I really such a monster? One book in particular seemed a bit odd. I remembered owning it, but not that edition. The door was stuck shut. I unlocked the basement door. There were old Christmas decorations in the box. I couldn't even remember our last Christmas. The garbage bags were stuffed with old paint cans and supplies. There was a dirty old key here. I took the small key and tried to remember what it unlocked. There were old clothes, tools, and other things we obviously hadn't thrown out yet. Oh. I had put up this divider wall last summer so we could create a separate room in the basement. I hadn't finished it yet, so the door was stuck and the drywall was poorly installed. I might have been able to break through if I found something heavy enough. Oh. The grimy key I'd found in the basement unlocked the door. It looked like the room had been tossed around. The furniture was a mess. Did somebody break in here? There was an old crowbar on the floor. Did I need to take the crowbar? Yeah. I lifted the heavy crowbar. I appreciated its weight. Uh... I... I'm unsettled is the best way to describe it. Yes. With a heave, I swung the crowbar at the wall. I smashed a hole large enough to step through. As I stepped through the broken wall, my breath caught in my throat. This was it. Was Rachel down here? There? Was she okay? Don't look. Don't look. A filthy-looking pile of rags had been dumped in the corner. The stench of them was awful and made my eyes water. I was terrified to even touch the pile to see what lay within, but I knew I had to. I had come this far. After all the searching, after all I had seen, when I looked within the rags, did I finally find my Rachel? Oh. Oh no, please. Among the stained fabric and rotting odor, my wife's body lay crumpled in a heap. A single bloody wound had ripped open her chest, but thankfully the details were obscured by blood and dirt. I could tell she had been shot, and the thought of the handgun I had taken made me retch. So this was the feeling in the pit of my stomach, the tingling that brought me back. I had finally come home, and my wife was dead. I thought about all I'd seen and wondered if any of it could help me figure out who had done this. And when I couldn't stay there any longer, I stepped away on shaky legs and made my way back upstairs. Reluctantly, exhausted from my journey, I could no longer resist the urge to close my eyes. It was my wallet, with its contents intact. Either I dropped that stuff or somebody else did. Maybe I was sleepwalking again, or maybe somebody stole it from me. Norman's store, that forest, the water tower. Was I at those places before? Well, so this is where we decide? Like, who do we suspect? Would we have found other evidence if I just backtracked earlier in the game? I think it's me, right? Yes. I didn't see how it could have happened any other way. I must have been the one to lose my wallet and its contents. But what does that mean? This was the old photo of that other man and his wife, I assumed. I found it in that house. I recalled those faded remains I had found deep underneath his house. What had he done? What had he done there? Well, what did I think? Was that man involved in this whole mess somehow? Oh, cool. I think he was. Definitely, those tunnels, the odd tools in his house, and the remains of his wife. He wasn't innocent, that's for sure. Empty and drained. So what else? Where else do I go? What else do I make decisions? It was the keycard I found at the bottom of that factory locker. I never did bother to use it. Someone had been going through those lockers and poking around the plant. Still, it didn't quite add up. Was I the one who had been going back to the factory? I don't know. Oh man, we got to do another playthrough. What would have I been doing there? I didn't remember a thing about that place. The laptop had finally run out of power. My old office safe sat on the floor. I used to keep tax records and other important documents in it. It used a digital passcode, but I didn't have the code. Maybe I had left it somewhere. I leafed through the notebook I had taken from the forest. In it were the names that had been written down. I recalled the names I saw scratched out on that old desk deep within those musty tunnels. Was the man in that house really up to something? It was the letter I had taken from the postbox. Rachel, were you really having an affair with Norman? But why? I didn't think things were that bad. In the letter, Rachel seemed concerned. She almost seemed worried of what Norman might do. Did he do that to Rachel? No. Norman may have betrayed me, but I didn't think he was capable of that. I hated him. I hated him so much, but I couldn't blame him for what happened to my wife. I thought I did it now, but now I'm like, thinking I didn't? It seemed like I had seen all there was. Maybe I thought I was ready to go back into the basement. Maybe there wouldn't be anything for me to find, but I had to take a last look. If I wanted to end it, I could do it. I could do it with that gun. It was like carrying an anvil, but I wouldn't let it go. Not again. Now that I stood there, I realized I couldn't go back into that room again. I had already seen too much. I needed to put an end to this situation one way or another. Rachel was no more, and I couldn't bear the sight of that house. But I did have that gun. Sure, I could leave, but would that even solve anything? I could find another way. But did I leave forever? Again, I felt the weight of the firearm. If I could sit down somewhere, think about things. I still love the old-time charm of that claw-footed bathtub, though it seemed like cold comfort then. I sat down at the table and stared at the gun in my hand. It didn't seem so heavy this time. If I wanted to, I could use the gun to finally end this. The question was, did I think I deserved it? Did I? Was this my fault? Did I deserve to die? With everything that we've uncovered up until this point, I feel that it was him. I also believe we have to do another playthrough, guys, and get all the information. I mean, what would be going through this guy his head right now? But I mean, initially I thought that, he killed her, he had something to do with all of the names on that list, and this is just the latest one, and he just keeps blanking out after each one. Maybe he would just leave. And I don't condone suicide. I'm just trying to faithfully play this, right? So would he leave, or would he... Is it all just too much for him? Do I think he's a serial killer? In the sense that he isn't aware? He doesn't know. He doesn't know he wouldn't kill himself, no. No, as painful as all this was, I didn't lay the blame on myself. He's gonna leave forever. Rachel was no more, and I couldn't bear the sight of that house, but I did have that gun. Sure, I could leave, but would that even solve anything? I could find another way. But did I leave forever? Yes. Living in this town hadn't been easy. The plant had helped in some way to stay grounded. It kept me in line, gave me something to do, and helped me get away from my past. When the factory closed, everything changed. I guess that was when I had started sleepwalking, disappearing for hours at a time. I had MRIs and piles of doctor's reports, but nothing seemed to help, not even drinking. But I swear I had tried to give it up. I know it. The sleepwalking never really went away, though. But I know Rachel had tried. I know she had tried to be there for me, even when everything was falling apart. This night had unearthed terrible truths, but I knew it was a final act of a long-standing horror I'd been living. Waking up in that house tonight was the final cruelty. I wish I had remained unconscious in that room forever. It was obvious to me that the man I had found in that house had something to do with all this. Could he have killed Rachel? It started to seem that there were too many things I had seen to think otherwise. And what was hidden within those sewers I had found? The tunnel to the man's house obviously led there, but was there something I missed? I had found the contents of my wallet scattered throughout town. Why the hell had I been out there? Had my sleepwalking gone to some new extreme? And the thought that I couldn't account for my whereabouts, but I knew I had been to that forest, and even Norman's place. Well, it was terrifying. I didn't know what that meant, but at least I'd recovered my things. Hopefully, I thought, that would cover my tracks, so I wouldn't be blamed for all this. Deep within those woods, though, was where things became truly awful. Finding that notebook only made things worse. Rachel's name had been on that list. So what terrible plot was she a part of? There was a similar list of names on that desk back in those tunnels. What was the connection? I had no idea who had been poking around in the old factory, but I was sure it hadn't been me. Even with my sleepwalking and everything else that had gone on, I was certain of it. After the factory, I thought I might find some solace if I could just get to Norman's store. But all I had found were more horrors and more questions. Now that I really consider it, that's when I should have seen it coming. Norman, What were you and Rachel up to? It was obvious things were complicated, or more complicated than I'd ever imagined. How long had you been going behind my back? More importantly, why, Norman? Whoever had killed Rachel had probably gone after you too. Maybe they knew about what you were up to. I would never know peace, Norman. But despite your transgressions, a part of me really did hope that you would. When I had marched through the rain towards home, I desperately clung to the hope that this would end. And I guess in a way it did, but how could I have known how hopeless it all was? I had started to feel as disorientated as when I sleepwalked. To think of it now, I guess I should have known from the terrible silence that greeted me when I first stepped into our house and stood there in the kitchen. There was no sound of television, radio, even the air was still. But seeing Rachel there, lying ruined and discarded in the basement, that was a horror I could never have imagined. I didn't know if I'd ever find the answers I craved, but I knew that somehow that other man I had found was responsible for this. If not directly, he must have had a hand in Rachel's death. So what was I doing in that damned house of his? Had I found out? Had I killed him? My damned condition made it difficult to know. Memories and time frames were always a mess, and I could never be sure. Knowing that man was dead, though, was cold comfort. My wife was gone, and no matter what happened to me now, I was lost forever. As I swung open the door and stepped out into the air, I caught the scent of wet grass and fog. Rachel, my beautiful wife. Just the thought of her again, cold and inert, shook me from head to toe. What would I do now? Who could I turn to? It would only be a matter of time before the police got involved, before the neighbours knew. The front lawn was soft and giving beneath my feet, and I couldn't shake the urge that I shouldn't stand there, but rather that I should run. Holy Jesus, guys! What am I feeling? That was haunting. I actually feel drained. To think like how home is dedicated to my wife Nancy. Watch your back. That was an incredible experience, guys. What a great narrative. So, yeah, this video is almost an hour long. We're gonna end it there. We're gonna do another playthrough of that, I feel. Maybe not straight away. I really just want to sit with this feeling for a while, so I might dive into it again next week. But what an incredible title. I really do appreciate any kind of medium that elicits some kind of an emotional or an emotive response from me, whether it's anger, rage, sadness, desperation, happiness. If you create something and it makes me feel a certain way and you crafted it to make a person feel that way too, not just like reading something on Facebook and getting offended, but you know, the actual narrative is there to elicit those feelings from you. I just take my hat off, and I just love immersing myself in those kinds of things. So that's what an absolute joyful experience. And to be honest, makes me really glad that I started the channel, because if I hadn't been thinking of, you know, creating something that I could put on here for you guys, then I never would have taken the time to play a game like this. So I'm really pleased with how that went. So yeah, look, guys, go out and buy the game. Benjamin Rivers Inc. may be the developers, but Benjamin Rivers certainly did a fantastic job. I'm gonna research it a bit before I do the next playthrough, just to see whether or not he is a one-man band, so to speak. But he's done a fantastic job, and he deserves all the support that we as a community can possibly give him. It's just, yeah, I'm really impressed, and I'm glad that I took the time to play it, and I'm glad that I could share it with you guys. So until we, well, look, until the time where I can talk at you again, peace.